The man that I landed on as the DJT 2025 Man of the Year was Juan Orlando Hernandez. You might remember that Mr. Hernandez is the former president of the proud country of Honduras, who was arrested for good cause and extradited to the United States, where he faced a jury of his peers, as they like to say. He would maybe contend with that, but he has nothing to worry about now because he is as free as a buzzard. He was sentenced to 46 years in federal prison. He pled to 400 being responsible for smuggling 400 tons of cocaine into the United States, and not to be too narrowly defined and to be put into a box in some kind of way, wanting to demonstrate that he is a multi-dimensional leader. He also murder for hire and in torture. And he also shared meaningful intelligence with of U.S. DEA activities in Central and South America. He shared that information that he was given from the U.S. government with folks like El Chapo. You've probably heard about him, Mr. Guzman, and other members of not other members of the Sinaloa cartel. So, and no dispersions, no judgment. As they say, some of my best friends are Sinaloans. So, yeah. So, the former president of Honduras, a verifiable bad guy, and of course, just the kind of guy that should receive a pardon from your president, Donald J. Trump. Why? When he was asked about his reasoning, he doesn't give a lot of reasons for that. The law should be very different, where the president that's pardoning, they have pretty much unfettered power to do these things. But in a democratic society, or at least what used to be a democratic society, why don't they just write a little report so future administrations can understand the context in which the pardon was granted? Might be helpful. It's these are people that are responsible for killing Americans, and as Donald J. Trump has stated before, the cocaine is killing tens of trillions of Americans every year. No joke about fentanyl, a legitimately dangerous drug that does kill a lot of Americans. But the pardon of this particular gentleman, Juan Orlando to his friends, is reprehensible on just about every level, and particularly in light of what the Trump administration is doing in the Caribbean. This evolving, the naval exercise, the purpose for which has evolved from drug interdiction, preventing dangerous drugs from entering the U.S., to perhaps an oil grab, to perhaps both, is points out and emphasizes with highlighter and really bright lights the hypocrisy of this administration. That's not a surprise, but it's important 1 year in that we remind ourselves that what they say has to be taken as first a lie Second, probably just a lie and then bullshit. There is very little truth that comes out of the administration. And this sort of lie is doubly damaging to the U.S. You may not be a believer that the reputation of the U.S. in the larger world and the region is important if you are, sort of a inward looking nativist America first, code for Nazi kind of person, a member of the cult. And you say that, we have to be concerned about, we don't need to be doing the foreign things. We just have to focus on the US. Then you're probably concerned about the impact of drugs that are in our country, perhaps. Or maybe you're just, you're using that as an excuse, as so many do, to justify the cruelty part of the program. But when you look at the entire naval operation up to date, the U.S. Navy operation, including the Gerald R. Ford Carrier Battle Group and all of the attendant support functions that go with it, has cost the U.S. taxpayer, not DJT, and not money from tariffs, which is another lie, but it has cost the American taxpayer almost $350 million. So it's not a billion. It's not the amount of money that Donald Trump has. Donald Trump and his family have accumulated $3 billion since the beginning of the administration through the crypto deals, back to my boy CZ, and other means and business relationships in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the UAE. Another interesting subject for future consideration, because while the UAE and KSA were aligned in Yemen and in Sudan, which is just a complete human catastrophe of unimaginable consequence, that now it's like the girls are fighting, right? So KSA and UAE are having a hard time getting along. So support for the terrorist groups that they initially supported together in Sudan, essentially could be responsible. These groups, these mercenary groups, could end up being responsible for the deaths of upwards to 150,000 Sudanese people. 150,000 murdered by these mercenary groups. So that's for another day. But back to our dear friend Juan Orlando. So the message that Trump is sending, right, is that this convicted felon who was sentenced and in prison, due to spend the rest of his life there, because he's around my age, and you add 40 years and you even give him a decade off for good behavior, then that makes him 90. That it was a life sentence, and Trump's explanation or excuse was, well, it was a Biden hoax, which Trump, anytime he doesn't want to have a difficult discussion about tariffs, about cost of living, about healthcare, it's a Democratic hoax, because it plays well to those that are a member of the cult that have not yet left and been deprogrammed. There's There is an exodus, not a mass exodus from the cult, because people are getting tired of the bullshit, tired of the lies. They were in for a little bit of racism, but the continual attacks on black and brown people merely for the color of their skin is making some people that go to church, for instance, making them uncomfortable. And when they see the hypocrisy of Donald Trump on one hand saying, we're fighting to suppress the drugs that are being brought into the US to kill Americans. And on the other hand, I'm taking a payoff from one of the biggest drug lords in the history of all drug lords. A guy that you know, would have been having lunch with Pablo Escobar if he were still around to have lunch. You know, that level, big player. When you're talking about hundreds of tons of cocaine, that's the big leagues. Those are the pros. So I'm fighting for you to keep drugs out of America, but I am going to pardon the man responsible for bringing more drugs into the United States over the past 15 years than all others. It's not disputable. He was the winner in the contest. He wasn't the apprentice. He was he was the king. Similarity, right? To our illustrious leader. But Juan Orlando was the leader among leaders of all drug smugglers bringing drugs here. He, you know, an open-minded DEI kind of guy. He serviced Europe, Canada, other places. We're not the only country that consumes cocaine. We just do it more per capita than any other place in the world. That's our problem. We got to fix that. Narco terrorists, narco good guys, bad guys, salesmen, however you want to refer to them, will have a good income as long as the U.S. is around, because we have a giant appetite for it. But your boy DJT pardoned the most consequential drug smuggler in the last 15 years, indisputably. Why? Well, because he got paid to do it. I mean, why else would, this is, this is, you know, this is not his target audience. Generally, the people that he pardoned that are not as white as Christmas, right? Plenty of those, the folks that stormed your capital, your capital, defecated in Congress's chambers, and wiped their lily white asses with the curtains in the Senate cloakroom. Those people that he pardoned, all of them, was the cracker mafia, right? Now this is a Honduran man. CZ is a Chinese Canadian gentleman. And so the only time that Donald Trump does DEI is when there's a pardon payoff in the offing. Like, oh, that's different. He's brown, but he's rich. So he's kind of like me, and he's writing me a really big check. Well, no checks. It's all crypto because that's the business they're in. So in any case, I wanted to give recognition to the tremendous accomplishments as a businessman of one Orlando Hernandez, formerly of Honduras. I don't believe he's going back there because he's subject to arrest there. He's probably, I mean, to stay on theme, maybe one Orlando is staying at the former Jeffrey Epstein estate in Manhattan. Could be. He's like I said, free as a bird and single and ready to mingle. So if you see him, say what's up and Feliz Año and congratulations for being the DJT 2025 administration man of the year. You are distinguished, sir, and we salute you. Thank you, and do the restack thing kindly, and enjoy the heck out of your day.